the most successful restaurants I work with and the most successful restaurants I've studied, when I talk to the owners or I study the owners, their mindset, watch their interviews, all that good stuff, one thing I've noticed is that hospitality is truly a passion. Like it really is a passion, and there's a deep understanding of it. There's a deep understanding of the importance of it, what it means, what it is, what they want from it, what they're trying to accomplish. And I'll give you an example. There's a pizza restaurant, for lack of a better word, that we work with, and when you look at it from the outside, it's a pretty, by the numbers. And what I mean by that is there's nothing like the name, for example, isn't like some crazy name, right? They don't say like we sell like Neapolitan style, this, that, right? We're an authentic Italian. It's nothing like that. It's very, very subtle. In its name, and their whole philosophy is that we just give a really high quality product, meaning that their dough is made in house. They use high quality ingredients, and they use like enriched flour, right? For example, all of their meats are bought from a vendor that's local, that produces everything locally. High quality meats. They cut their meats in house. They cut their veggies in house. They make their sauce in house. They even make their dressings for their salads in house. They make them. Everything's made with olive oil, right? They really make sure everything's the highest quality ingredient, and then they want you to know that you can come into our restaurant and bring your family, and it's going to be loud. When you walk in there, it's not a place where you're going to sit there and quietly have a nice dinner. It's like, nope, it's going to be loud. It's going to be an energy. It's going to be fun, and they're packed every single day, Monday through Sunday. And it was crazy because I went in there and I was, talking to the owner. We've been doing business with them for about 6 months now, and it was the first time I got to sit down and talk to the owner in person. And he's like, he looked at his watch, and he goes, 5 o'clock's coming around. About 30 minutes from now, this place could be packed wall to wall. And it was a Tuesday, and sure enough, like literally on the dot, all of a sudden the place just fills up, and it's families and it's moms and it's parents, it's just everybody. And it's loud. It was like you can barely hear yourself talk. But the point of me telling you that though is that his philosophy is hospitality, but he goes deeper, right? He's like, hospitality is about giving back ultimately, right? It's about giving back. So he was like, I look at hospitality as me giving back to my employees, right? So I'm giving back to them. I'm always, friendly with them. And I even went and toured his restaurant. Sometimes when I tour restaurants, you get like, line cooks or people that are prepping, and they'll see me and they'll kind of have like an attitude, right? They'll like look and they'll, who's this guy, right? Or they'll kind of be like, yeah, hi, how's it going, right? I'm busy. At least one or two, sometimes a lot, right? And that tells you a lot about a restaurant. And when I went into his kitchen, every single person just had like the biggest smile on their face, and they made eye contact, and they're like, oh, hi, how's it going? It's really nice to meet you. And they have no idea who I am. They have no reason to be nice to me. It was just like, I was just walking back there, and they were just, everyone was just super, super nice, and it just shows you the culture that he's built. And he also gives back to the community. He really puts forth efforts to give back to the community in so many ways. He always has something going on. He said that he uses this business as a vessel to give back. And that's how deep like hospitality goes, and his passion for it. And that's why it lives in his employees, and his employees are able to deliver at a high level. Like, yes, we've helped them deliver training systems and leadership for consistency reasons, and also for guided reasons, right? We want the hospitality to be branded and consistent versus just like, here's hospitality kind of, right? To where I see it best. It's here's our branded hospitality. Here's what you can expect, because he's scaling right now. And so my point of telling you that is that like that's where hospitality comes from, is like innately like in the owner saying that I want to represent hospitality. That is my passion. Now there's a business side of it, and so there's some people that are business minded in that, and that's okay. And I want to explain that like the passion's important, right? It's hard to do it without the passion in the owners, but it also is a business tactic, right? Hospitality can be weaponized for profits. It is weaponized for profits. It is what leads to the most profits. The most successful restaurants built their brand and their success and their identity off of hospitality. Restaurants, cafes, whatever it is, ones that are huge, at scale, they did it, right? Look, there's this place in, like Italy where they have film it, and they walk in and the people are super rude to you, and they like throw the food, and they're just like, they don't care if you're there, and they don't want you asking questions, right? That's fine. There's gonna be a freaking niche for that, sure. Maybe you have a restaurant that has no hospitality, you guys do really well, awesome. great. Just because you're an anomaly or you've seen an anomaly once does not mean that that's what is going to be best for business or what the market demands. The market demands hospitality. Everyone wants hospitality. Anybody I know, anybody that's human, you want to be treated well, you want to be valued, and you want to be taken care of. There's no one in this world that's saying like, I want to go spend my money, and yeah, if the food's good, awesome, but if the server's rude, gets my order wrong, doesn't care that I'm there, short with me, maybe says something like disrespectful, forgets something, or they mess up my order and they just could care less, right, about it. I don't care, I just really want good food. No, that's not 95% of people. If you'd like to structure your business model off of the 5% of people who just don't care how they're treated, and I just want to eat good food, and for some reason that this is the only place I can find that delivers good food, then it's going to be a long road for you. But if you're wanting to create a business strategy around the other 95% of people who really want a great experience, who want to be taken care of and value that, and will become loyal to that, and will spend more money and more consistently and tell people about it and bring people in and become marketing machines for you, then that's what you want to base your business model off of. And so hospitality is the biggest marketing tool that you can have. And that's why I don't understand why restaurant owners don't look at training, for example, as a marketing cost. Because that's truly what it is, right? Your staff, your front of the house staff is literally, well, your back house staff too, but we're talking about a restaurant that has the food right. Your staff, your front of the house staff is literally going to be what determines if A, a guest comes back, B, if a guest tells someone about that experience, and C, if they write a good review. They're literally the ones that determine it. The owner and the manager, the leadership team cannot be at every table every step of the way. They just can't be, obviously. So that means you're putting your guest retention, your customer value, and your reviews, your online presence, your online reputation in the hands of all of your front of the house staff. That means the servers, that means the bartenders, that means the hosts, that means the bar backs, that means the food runners, that means the bussers. That's everybody. You're literally putting that in their hands. Now, knowing that, because there's no way around that, that's what it is, we have to make sure that we train them to accomplish three things. I want to give someone such an exceptional, honest, personable experience that they come back, that they tell their friends and family about it, and that they leave a review. And so reviews are easy, right? I give someone a great experience, I'm gonna ask them for a review. I don't care, me personally, if I eat at a fine dining restaurant, Michelin star, right? You gotta wear jackets. And I go in there and I spend a bunch of money, and the server is just amazing. So much fun, very nice, truly makes me feel like they care that I'm there, and gives me an amazing experience. And at the end of the meal, if the server's like, by the way, would you mind leaving me a review online? That'd be awesome. Like on Google, would you be okay with that? Why would I say anything but yes? Why would I have an issue with that? It doesn't matter the venue. It doesn't matter how much I'm spending. If I liked your service and you were amazing to me, and you made a connection with me, then yes. So it doesn't matter the venue, in my opinion. You can ask for reviews. It just matters the experience. And then when it comes to repeat guests, it just has to be an experience to where, like, look, the food's good, but I was taken care of. Because I tell people this all the time. You have to go through the experience to get through the food, period. There's no way around it. They have to go through the host, they have to go through the server, they have to go through the busser and the food runner in order to get to the food. That's it. So if something's broken there, if this isn't desirable, then the food becomes less desirable. My rate of return becomes less desirable, and also the more and more I come back, the less and less desirable it becomes. Because, okay, I had an okay experience, but the food is really good. I want to go eat it again. Okay, then you have it again, and it's like the experience is okay, but now it's a little. Maybe someone said something wrong. Maybe they got my reservation wrong. Maybe they got my food order wrong. Maybe they got my steak wrong. I went to a really nice steakhouse the other day, and we were in a group of 8 people, and everything was fine. Except 2 steaks came out cooked the wrong way. The server clearly wrote the wrong orders, and there were 2 different cuts. And the way the server handled it was not professional, and it wasn't good. And so it right away lowered the value of the experience. And so it made me question everything. I've been to this steakhouse 10 times. It was great, 100% of the time. That one interaction made me go, what the heck's going on here, right? I start losing trust. I get a little bit burned. This is my party that I'm hosting, and now this is happening, and there's no sorry, there was no anything. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, we can fix that. So that's a problem to me. You want to avoid those little tiny nuances that can ruin everything. It's like that whole philosophy, Rome was not built in a day, it was burnt down in one. And so that's why it's important to look at it as training as marketing, because we want to train people up to avoid those. Like in that steakhouse, there should have been no way, there's no reason why a manager shouldn't have came by that table. Right? We spent so much money and not one manager even came by that table. That's insane. They got to eat their steak after everyone else is done eating, right? And so that makes me feel like they don't care. So it's little things like that is you can lose a customer instantly off of one step of an experience by not training them properly. And this is what it's all about, is training at a high level. So people spend money on marketing, which is funny. Like the way they spend money on marketing is funny because I've seen restaurants who will pay sometimes $1,000 to even $3,000 and even more for a social media manager. They'll pay a couple of $1,000 or maybe $1,000 or $500 photographer to come in and take pictures, or videographer to come in and take videos, or a company that's like, we're gonna do this cool thing where like it's gonna be like the drink spins and then it turns into another drink, and we're gonna film it professionally. It's gonna look so good and clean, or we're gonna film like your restaurant in action, or we're gonna film your food being plated and it's gonna look so cool, and then we'll post it. Use yourself as a case study. When you see that online, you're like, okay, yeah, that looks cool and that looks nice. Do I want to go to that restaurant now? No, right? It just looks like another restaurant that serves really good drinks. Like, I'm not enticed. And so they're spending all this money here, and they're like, oh, that's what someone told them to do, and the social media manager and this and that, when they could be spending the money over here, more training, longer training, more staff, whatever that is, right? Maybe having a head of training, maybe having a training development person paid a person that's on salary working in your business that's just in charge of training alone, versus spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on marketing over here that's not yielding any results, right? So that's what drives me crazy, is like, I don't get it. It's all about focus too, right? Like, what is going to be the best for business? What's going to grow the business the fastest, or get us, the most butts and seats? It's going to be your staff. It's going to be your staff. And I would maximize this out first, right? Let me make sure I have maximized this out. Let me make sure that I know that when someone walks in the door, we have like a 95% hit rate, where I know no matter what host, I know no matter what food runner, no matter what server, no matter what manager's on the floor, whoever's on the floor, that guest is going to get a level of hospitality by 95%, right? We are going to fail sometimes. We are going to miss a mark sometimes, but it's very low because my training is so dialed across the board, because it's not just training, it's systems, it's continuous training, and it's leadership that also has to hold everything in place, right? I have all of this dialed. Now I can start focusing on marketing. Now I can start going to Instagram and saying this, because right now I'm hemorrhaging money by not having this down. But then I'm trying to make up for it here. And I could be bringing in 100 more guests a week. Okay, let's just say, I'm just throwing out a random number. I could bring in 100 more guests a week if I just work on this for 6 months and focus hard on this. Or I can bring in 1 to 3, 4 guests a month, or 10 guests a month over here by focusing on this. So instead of focusing on fixing this problem where I'm losing 100 guests a week because I'm not dialed in on here, I'm going to try and make up for it by trying to bring in 10 guests over here. And I mean, when you think about that logic, it doesn't make any sense. And again, it's like data. It's all about data. Because, well, Preston, how do you know? Why are you saying that? Where are you getting those numbers? Well, then do the data. Do your own data, right? What is your guest retention right now? How are you measuring that? Are you, how are you measuring the guest experience? How are you measuring your hospitality consistently? How are you measuring upselling? How are you measuring reviews? How are you measuring all of those things versus how are you measuring this? How are you measuring that Instagram video and post and that PR ad you did, the newspaper thing you did, and all that stuff is yielding results. How are you measuring it? And if you can't measure it, if you had 4 people that came in and said, oh, I came in because of your Instagram, or you had 4 people that said, oh, I came in because of your newspaper, article, whatever it is, it's like, okay, cool, that's 4 people. But so that's your measurement? Because 4 people said it, maybe 16 people came in because of that, because 4 people told you. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. This is controllable. This is much less controllable, but this only should be happening and be focused on if you have this mastered, right? Like, why are we not focusing on this? Like, when I went to a Tony Robbins thing, he talked about business. He said too many people chase acquiring new guests versus taking care of their current guests, right? And that's something we want to do, is like, well, why don't we just focus really heavily and hard on taking care of all the people that are walking in the door, maximizing that part of the business. And then we have this running as a system. Now we can do marketing, and sure, we can throw marketing into that system, and then that will multiply. So yeah, I'm only getting 10 people over here, but when I throw them into this machine, they just multiply like crazy, right? Versus I have this machine that's broken, and then I have this machine that's broken, but I'm going to try and throw people into this machine that's broken, and instead of multiplying it, maybe it actually ends up, none multiply, and one guy leaves a bad review. Now it's costing you money. Now it's costing you, Crest. Now this is actually canceling itself out because I don't have this part of the business fixed. And so that's what I always tell restaurant owners, like, if you want to be as successful as possible, and again, we work with restaurants that are always, they're doing well. It's not like we ever work with anybody that's like struggling really bad or anything like that, but there's like, they always want to do better. And it's like, okay, if you want to do better, then focus on the right things. Like, don't put so much energy into this marketing thing. Don't put any energy into it. It's like, what numbers do you have to say that you need this or this is doing something for you? And if you were to turn this off, there would be some substantial thing that happens that you can't, like, all of a sudden, like the fire erupts out of nowhere, and say, let's turn this off and let's just focus on this bad boy. Let's just really, really focus in on this and show this some love. And again, if you're like, maybe you are running a restaurant that has a campaign that has successful marketing, that's awesome. And I'm not saying just turn that off or stop doing that. If you have something that's working, great, keep doing that. But it's very rare. Like, I'm into marketing. I study marketing for restaurants all the time, Instagram, all that stuff, websites, ads. I study all of it, and it's so rare that it's like a huge generator. But when it is, even if it is, a lot of times I see businesses that this is actually becomes detrimental, because they'll have like, you work with a company and they'll maybe geofence for you, and they'll send out ads and, maybe promos or something like that. And all of a sudden you get this influx of like, 100 people just walked in the door because of that, right? And I paid someone really good money to kind of get someone, but it's 100 people, so it'll like pay for itself. Okay, cool. But now you have this machine that's broken over here that you can't guarantee a 95% rate. Maybe it's closer to like 60%. So that means half the people coming in will never come back. Maybe a bunch of them will leave a bad review. Maybe a couple of them will leave a bad review. But even worse than a bad review is that they'll just not have a good experience and then tell their friends and family. And bad word of mouth is damaging, especially when it's consistent, right? Because there's bad word of mouth, right? Statistically, someone will tell 16 people that they know, love, and trust. But it gets even worse because people will actually listen to third-party word of mouth. And it's happened to me, where I'm like, hey, what's up with that new sushi place? Oh, Brian went there, he said it was terrible. Okay, well, that doesn't sound like something I want to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass on that. And I just never go to that sushi place. And it's not even someone that told me, it's someone that told someone that told someone. That's how detrimental word of mouth is. That's something that we want to avoid at all costs. How do we minimize that to the max? That's what we need to be focused on.